Hello, I want to talk about rejection and I want to talk about victimhood. Okay, so often I hear victim language, I'll refer to it as people saying, "Oh, I'm used to it, I'm used to it." And this could be in reference to the weather, this could be in reference to someone else's behavior, and this could furthermore be in reference to a specific narrative, right? Or people, I don't know, in their life that they keep referring to as, "Oh, I'm used to that treatment." What they're really saying is that I am almost in a passive state. I'm tolerating it. I am in compliance with it. So already you have capitulated. You have already given your power away to the situation, right? You've already given away your power to the circumstance. And it's so interesting that people say this so often. This is the victim mentality, the victim language that people use regularly. It's sort of this energetic ecosystem of resignation, because that's what you're saying. I'm complying to this. I am willing to tolerate this. I am allowing this. That's what you're saying. The worst part about being the victim, I think, is that you are totally unaware of your own self-sabotaging tendencies. It's kind of like saying, I have learned to associate this experience so deeply that I am no longer willing to question whether it truly belongs to me. So you can imagine it's sort of like this unconscious way of internalizing something that you think was kind of imposed or foisted upon you. And when a person says, "Oh, I'm used to it," what they're really saying is, I no longer believe that I have any power over it, that I can change this. So let's take rejection. You have an experience of being rejected in relationships multiple times, right? That's been your past. So your self-concept, your emotional signature might be one of rejection, right? Because it's corroborated by your experience. And so the natural way that reality works is that whatever's been internalized and emotionalized, you expect. So it creates this expectancy for further rejection. So again, if someone says, "I'm just used to rejection, like I'm just used to it," what they're really saying is, I've internalized this experience so deeply that I no longer question whether this is even true or not. It's just a part of who they are. Whatever is natural will manifest. They've made this emotional signature so natural to them that there is no reason for them to question it. So they will unconsciously, seek out rejection, people that will reject them, emotionally unavailable people that will continue to reject them. Even if they come across neutral events, and I'm sure you know people like this. I'm sure you've even experienced this. I certainly have. Whenever I've been feeling extremely insecure, the phases in my life, it could be the most innocuous thing, and I have in the past misinterpreted it as a rejection of me. I have taken it personally. It's a completely neutral event. It has absolutely nothing to do with me most of the time. And you make it personal because the state of I'm not enough attaches itself to a lower or their lower frequency that's in its orbit, which is one that the experience is emitting, right? The experience holds itself a similar resonance, a similar frequency, you could say, to how you see yourself in that moment. And you see yourself long enough as not being good enough, you will start to attract experiences that validate you are not enough. And the victimhood mentality is a passive rendering of reality, right? Where it's sort of like you take this passive, energetic posture to life. You kind of think everything just happens to you. There is no personal responsibility. There is no personal agency. It's just those kinds of people that just blame everything around them. I'm sure, some of your parents might be like this. Maybe you've been like this in your life. And it just seems like the world is against you. And, you can recognize this very quickly when someone else is blah, 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 if I can speak, you can recognize this very quickly when someone else is exhibiting this, right? Because you kind of think to yourself, well, that's not true. Like, what is this person on? But to them, they're buying into their own, in a way, delusion. They're just buying into this bullshit because they truly, sincerely might believe, although it is unconscious, they believe that the events, the circumstances are truly like out to get them. It's this weird, socially normalized state of, I don't know, paranoia almost, that again is so normalized that you just you don't even think to question it, right? And let's say now a victim, okay, a perpetual victim, someone who runs on the victim timeline. That's their sort of emotional signature and their internal state of being. That's what I mean when I refer to as emotional signature. They get rejected, right? They approach a fit gal and they get rejected. And this happens to them multiple times. Now, that victimhood, which is again a low sense of self-worth, that is going to attach itself to the experience of being rejected, and it's gonna bow chicka wow wow and turn into something worse. It's gonna turn into a narrative where your internal state is going to be one of, what is wrong with me? Like, what is it about me? Why is the world just not so unloving? Why am I so unlovable? This is a narrative that will play out in your mind. Some people actually don't have these extreme narratives, I have realized. They kind of have their own sort of obscure, deranged way of finding its way to you. I mean, the victimhood mentality. It could even be such as you thinking that group of people don't accept me. It could be a particular group of people maybe you actually want approval from, maybe just a tiny bit of you, and you think to yourself, oh yeah, they'll never like me. Like, they're just, you're rejecting yourself first and foremost. Let's get that straight. The rejecting is can I speak today? The rejection is being self-centered, right? You are the one rejecting yourself first, creating a perpetual expectancy to be rejected externally. Like, you don't even begin to question whether you like them. It robs you off of your own choice, your own preference, because you think, again, you take this passive state of being. You think you are the one that's perpetually being rejected by people, by life, by events, yada, yada, yada. And that lens then becomes your narrator. And that's a terrible place to be. And the trauma's role, let's talk about the trauma's role here. So let's say you've got a wound, many of us do since childhood. Now, trauma is an evidence gathering machine almost, okay? Once there's been some sort of deep wound that you have internalized, and naturally as children we do that, and when we're not conscious of it, it's going to unconsciously play itself out in our lives. The great thing about it is that when you learn to consciously manifest, it kind of already puts you in a state of observing your life rather than being thrown like a rag doll and having these emotional reactions to feedback to your reality. I mean, that's the whole point, right? You're trying to recalibrate your perspective consistently so it matches up with what you actually want. Now, trauma doesn't just hurt, it catalogs. It creates these emotional algorithms that seek out for its own essence, for its own confirmation that whatever has happened in the past is going to repeat itself. You think, my dad left, or my dad never cared for me, or my mother never cared for me, so I don't feel good enough. You feel neglected, right? From a very young age, there is that wound of neglect there. So you start to either self-neglect or seek out people that will neglect you. So emotionally unavailable people. This could be something so innocuous as someone just ghosting you, like in your dating life, like someone just ghosting you and you think, oh, it means I'm not good enough. No, it doesn't mean that, okay? This is what's referred to as corroborating the emotional trauma, I guess, that was once experienced. The event in itself, most of the time, I'd say 90% of the time, has nothing to do with you. But you make it about you. We make it about ourselves. Because the emotion from, childhood demands authenticity to replay itself, to bring about what's essentially dead. It's that traumatic response. It enlists the world to prove it to you that this is still very much a part of your psyche. Rejection is very much a part of you still. This is why it could be very difficult to, disengage from these false, erroneous narratives. It is not a fact. It is simply resonance, okay? It's not a fact, it's resonance. Because whatever internal state you've embodied, let's say again, one of victimhood, one of being rejected, people that stay in that frequency, in that state, whichever language you'd like to use, law of attraction, law of assumption, doesn't matter. The key theme, the key thing here is it has to have resonance, because it has to self-prophesize itself, if that makes sense. It's got nothing to do with your worth, your actual worth. It's replicating the resonance. It has to. So, you rising above that victimhood, rejected identity has to equally resonate and provide evidence. And it's going to enlist the world to do so on your behalf. Someone who is in a state of rejection, think about it, they can only merely have a desire, right? And a desire in itself, we're trying to erase desire when we are manifesting, because desire in itself is actually, contrary to what people on here would like to tell you, it's a very low frequency when it comes to manifesting. Desire in itself simply is not enough, is not sufficient. It doesn't hold enough resonance to get you the thing you want. This is why Neville also says imagining the wish fulfilled, which is basically you generating, it's a self-generated resonance with the wish fulfillment, okay? That's what brings the result. It's not the desire, okay? Let me just make that clear. Because desire in itself cannot metabolize the frequency of love. So even if you are trying to manifest love into your life, the mere desire in itself, as I mentioned, is not sufficient. I guess you can say it doesn't hold enough of an energetic charge to bring about the result. Assuming the wish fulfillment, making it natural, making that internal state natural, is what will align you with love. The frequency of love in general is a pretty high one, and it doesn't really match up with desire altogether, which is why you have to self-generate not only that self-love that should be there, that's a given. I mean, self-love in itself is going to put you in a pretty good spot. It's going to put you in alignment with love in general, because, if you feel that love towards yourself, please tell me, how are you going to respond to rejection? If someone truly loves themselves, do you really think they're going to respond badly to rejection? They're water off a duck's back, like they're just not going to give a fuck. So it already puts you in a pretty good spot, pretty secure spot. Merely desiring your SP or desiring anyone, a new person, is not enough, is not sufficient, does not carry enough of a charge to match you up with the frequency of love. It has to be self-generated. That could be done assuming the wish fulfilled, assuming that you are already loved. But the only way, the best way you can do that is through self-love. But you can also do that, obviously, through assuming that said person feels positive things about you. Okay, first of all, why would you not think that? That's weird, because to assume anything otherwise, that they think low of you, is a confession that you think low of yourself. You cannot separate the other from yourself. It is you. This is what Neville meant by saying everyone is you pushed out. Okay, let's say someone is in a state of victimhood, right? Okay, and in a state of rejection. Even if love knocks on their door, it's going to feel alien to them. There is no resonance matching them to that opportunity. It's just not going to happen. It's like an apple trying to fucking mate with an orange. It ain't going to happen. You know, I was listening to a podcast recently, which is really funny, and this video is getting super long, but whatever. I was listening to a podcast and this girl was talking about how, you know, she'll miss out on the drama if she ends up with someone really safe and really peaceful. And I was like, what? I, for one, could not resonate with what she was saying. I can understand what she was trying to say, but because I don't resonate on the frequency of theatrics or drama, I am happy with a safe partner. Like, I don't need drama. To even crave drama is, I mean, that's a whole issue why you'd want to generate drama into your life through partners. This is why you align yourself with partners that put you in a state of, you know, longing and more desiring for them and chasing them, and, you know, this drama in your life that is so unnecessary, because the safer option, it could be literally right under your nose, right? You are not going to be able to spot them because your brain is going to reject the safe option. It's going to say things like, nah, that person's boring. Nah, that person isn't for me because of yada, 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 yada. You cannot metabolize what you actually want because you are already in a lower state. You know, victimhood in itself is not a condition. Victimhood is a narrative, it's a lens, it's a frequency that you're emitting. Therefore, it can be tuned out. But it's only when you stop seeing it as a personality. And this also goes for your empaths, okay? I know I have mentioned it before, like I really strongly sort of been conditioned to be one in a way, much to my own demise, and I fucking hated every part of it. But realizing I have a choice, I have a cap on my own empathy, I can exercise discernment, I have that choice, puts me in a good secure spot where I make it a boundary rather than a point of validation for someone else. This is for empaths. Empathy is the virtue. It is not your whole fucking personality. You'll keep attracting energetic vampires and complaining that why you're attracted to people that you want to fix all the time is because you think some part of your self-worth will be regained, reclaimed through this fucking engagement, and it's not going to happen. Okay, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Empathy is a virtue. Okay, just like discipline, just like fucking compassion, just like, I don't know, resilience. It should not be your entire personality. And it certainly should not be a self-directed ploy used to get validation. Self-worth should remain intact when you're helping people. You shouldn't give your self-worth to someone else under the guise of I'm an empath, and you may as well be, okay? I am one. Not now, because I know better. But there are certain things you can do, such as exercising discernment, making it into a boundary. You know, are you receiving reciprocal care? Stop seeing potential in people. Stop falling in love with the idea of potential in people. Why are you doing that? You deserve better. Because when you do that, you are treating people like projects. People are not projects. Okay? Go and do some creative work. There's a cat meowing in my garden. The more you keep identifying with your own victimhood, it's creating this loop. It's like, I know it's really hard to see your own fucking mess when you're the one generating your own mess, but you really have to cultivate self-awareness and see, like, wagwan, like, what am I doing here? When you see yourself blaming something, stop, pause, name the narrative. Like, it's probably going to be, why did he do this? Why did she do this? Why does this always happen to me? Then it just kind of creates this fucking loop. Get out of it. You have to literally tell yourself that's not who you are anymore. You have self-agency. And how do you take, your power back? Instead of saying, I am used to rejection, say, no, I am used by the belief that I could be rejected, when that is not true, because rejection is a choice. You are telling yourself that you have been used by the belief that you attract it to you, okay? Because that's really the reality of the situation here. And understand that much of rejection is based around resonance, okay? Some people just don't vibe with other people, not because they are less worthy. When you don't like someone, what do you usually say? You usually end up saying, like, I don't vibe with that person, right? You don't think to yourself, that person's self-worth is so fucking low. Who thinks like that? No one says that. Yes, they could not be worth your time, but it doesn't mean they're not worthy. They hold no sense of fucking self-worth in life. So why would you make that about yourself? Why would you make it mean this about yourself? So rejection really means non-resonance. It doesn't mean I think that this person holds no self-worth. If someone rejects you or someone doesn't spend time with you, that it means you're rejected or whatever, and make this your whole identity crisis. No, that's not what it means. It just means that even energetically, you are not resonating with that person. I am a pretty drama-free person. So for me to be talking to someone who is constantly fucking involved in drama, I'm just not going to vibe with that person. Now, if that person turns around and says, you rejected me, I'm going to be like, excuse me? So even if someone in your life previously has rejected you ostensibly, seemingly, tell yourself, it just means they don't resonate with me, because that is the actual reality of the situation. They don't resonate with you, right? It's nothing more, nothing less than that. And that's pretty okay to deal with as a fact, right? Because of course you can change that. You can change that energetically. You should allow room for people to not resonate with you. If you are allowed that permission, then surely they are too. And that's not that big of a deal. Like, if someone doesn't get along with you, someone doesn't vibe with you energetically, someone doesn't resonate with you, that's right. Like, that's okay. That shouldn't hurt your self-esteem or your self-worth, because even energetically, you can work on that. You can work on exhibiting or cultivating new sense of self-concepts. You are not the same person forever. You can choose a new internal state before reality gives you the proof, okay? And that's essentially saying, I am no longer waiting. I actually tend to refer to this as being in the waiting room. So any statement that puts me in the waiting room, and I'll probably make like a separate video on this, I'm like, yeah, I ain't doing that anymore. Get the fuck out of here. I'm not putting myself in the waiting room. I'm not using that language here. And this is where you tell yourself, I am no longer waiting for someone else to choose me. I am going to choose myself. Do whatever you want to do. Get wild with your fucking own creativity. You take agency. That I am no longer waiting for someone else to tell me that I'm chosen. I'm already choosing to believe that I am chosen. It's quite literally as simple as that. You don't need approval to make yourself be chosen. Do you get that? Like, you actually don't need it. I just realized it is past midnight, so that's my cue to end this video.